I thought it was a joke.
That I
That
what?
your feet were cold.
Oh, but they are. I
Yeah,
like
but
my
that's
whole
the
body
thing.
can
I
be.
thought that it was a joke.
Oh no,
Because you said, now we're ready, and then you just, hold on a second.
no, I felt it as soon as I pulled you into the channel here. Then I felt like, and then I was like, I'm gonna be thinking about that this whole time we're talking. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, this is
Take
part
two.
two
Take
already.
two.
Take two. Yeah. No. Just to fill in the people that are listening in, we did an episode and we didn't get to. We had a really great conversation. Don't get me wrong, and people are going to be like, "We want to listen to that episode," but we will try to recreate it. Not because we need to, but the point is that it's just we didn't talk a lot about you, and it ended up just being a conversation about anything, and that's of course also the meaning of this. But I would like to have get to know you, because that's also one of the, I guess, the pillars of this is to I get to know you, but the people out there also get to know you, or you know, yeah, me in a little sense. So we'll recreate like parts of it. I don't think we can recreate it 100%, but you, for example, had a question last time, and that's what kind of sparked the whole thing, and I just forgot all about speaking about who you are and stuff like that, because it was a really great question. So we recreate at least that, but I don't. We can, of course, recreate because we don't have a script. We won't be able to recreate it 100%. So, yeah. But enough of that. I guess we're just gonna start very slow and just kind of introduce you, and then we'll take your question, and I'll answer that one more time, even though that has been answered for your part at least.
Yes.
Yes. So, who are you? That's a really weird question to just ask, like straight up. But yeah.
Yeah, that is a weird question. How do you answer that? Who am I? I'm a human to start off with. Who are you? Hopefully human too. So far I haven't met any extraterrestrial beings. Yeah, no. Who am I? I'm Phoxsty, and yes, that's how you pronounce my name, Phoxsty. Literally just replace PH with an F, like you do in most cases. And I am a person who thoroughly enjoys anything technology based, and I love computers, video games, coding, the shenanigans. I've been a little bit all over the place.
Hmm. So
Been a teacher,
generally,
and
what people usually, I guess, in video games, kind of tend to, you know, uh, like.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The typical nerd,
Yeah.
if you would.
Yeah. I don't. It's not that I don't like using the word, but some people uh, might have strong opinions about being labeled as a nerd. I don't think you might have any problems with it, but I feel like I don't mind be calling a nerd because I feel like I'm a nerd, but sometimes it can also be used in a
Derogatory way.
yeah, exactly. Um, so, and I didn't even like I we actually touched on the subject a little bit, but we actually I didn't know that you actually worked as a teacher, but you said that like very briefly during all the conversation we had last time. So it's like, oh,
Yep.
I didn't know, and that's one of the things that I kind of put myself. I wouldn't say. That's why I texted you again as well. That's because I didn't know that you were a teacher, and it's like, wow, that was actually like we didn't dig deeper into that because I'm a teacher myself, and that's some common ground, and I just love talking to other teachers, so we didn't explore that at all. So
Yeah,
you,
no, we definitely didn't. Um, Teacher working as a teacher was actually my very first job. So it was the first thing that I did when I graduated in our country. It's called gymnasium.
hmm,
I know that's also a sports hall if you ask the Americans.
yeah,
So
work,
it's not quite the same, but It's year 10 through 12 for anyone outside of Sweden, Norway, Denmark. We have somewhat similar school systems, but anyone outside of that, it's year 10 through 12
Yeah. So
is where I was a teacher in IT.
so, but when we say gymnasium, it's kind of like high school, right? Or am I? Do you know that? I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel.
so high school, it's late high school. I think it's the 2 last years of high school, and freshman of college would be 10 through 12, would be your 2 last years on high school, and then sophomore at a college. So that's the level of education.
Yeah. So Americans have. I don't know much about the American system in it compares to ours, because when we are done with um, a gymnasium, we go on to university. But they have college like 2 years after, gymnasium, and then they have university after that as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so a lot of people who don't go for the very higher education actually stop at the college graduation. So you can get a job on a college degree. It's very common for people to get a job on a college degree. So I would say a college degree would be sort of the same thing as here, at least in Sweden, if you take a 2, sometimes 3-year university course. But mostly, the 2-year university courses, which are somewhat basic, but still gives you a university degree. That would be sort of the equal playing field to a college degree in sort of educational level. It's just different ages and different years.
But yeah, you took school after gymnasium, right? Or if you can just call it high school, I guess, for some people out there. But you took there. You also in Sweden have you call it? Do you also call it seminarium in Sweden, or?
So we would basically call it elementary school. So you have your kindergarten, and then you have preschool, and then you have elementary school. So kindergarten is up to and including age 5. When you're 6, or the year that you're turning 6, you would start to go into preschool, which is also called F6 in our system for some reason. And then you have the classes 1 through 9, which
Is
would be our quote unquote elementary school, which is broken down into 3 segments of 3 years each. Your, what's it called? The very first, and then middle school, high school.
yeah. So when you say F6, doesn't that mean because we have the same word for before in Danish and in Sweden, right? It's før. Or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
It's
it's before 6.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually called förskola, which stands for before school. It's literally what it says. And then I think they do F because before for the 4, and then dash 6 because it's the year that you're turning 6. You
Yeah.
will be 6 sometime during the entire school year.
It's leading up to you actually starting school, yeah. So, uh, what did actually make you, or what did got you into teaching? Well, why was it like? Why did you choose the path of teaching? Because I feel like that's kind of a very, I wouldn't say a niche thing, but I feel like you have to have some kind of love for bringing in or educating people, like helping people in a way. Like I think everybody helps somebody, but just kind of a way of the teaching or
Yeah. It's always been one of those things where, at least all my time growing up, I've always been sort of viewed, at least commented on by friends and family, that I'm quite good with teaching. Like, I'm quite good at explaining things in a understandable fashion. So a lot of people who might not even have knowledge of what I'm trying to describe will at some degree understand what I'm saying. So that was one of the factors that actually even made me consider it at all. And the determining factor for actually going through with it was the fact that I was being quote unquote headhunted to become a teacher. So what happened was I was in my final year, which I had a add-on fourth year on my gymnasium education. So I actually had a 4-year gymnasium education, which gives me even a different degree when I do graduate.
Mm.
And one of my friends who went to university, his father was working at the school that was contacting me. So his father was working at a school and they needed an IT teacher. And then they looked for different people. And I guess me being quite good at just explaining things and being quite methodical in my explanations made them consider me as an option. I went for 2 interviews and then I signed the contracts and I started working as a teacher. So it was a combination of one, liking to explain, teach, and be around people, and two, actually being headhunted, and you know how hard it is to get a job immediately after graduating. I literally had a summer holiday and then I started working after my graduation.
Mm. So you just kind of brought those worlds together. You liked IT, and then you were offered, and that's where you're. So you never had the like, hey, just I'm gonna be a teacher. It's not like some when people, oh, I guess people are growing up, they have like, I want to be a plumber, or I want to be a nurse, or I want to be like that. It was just you kind of fell into it, maybe in a way.
Yeah, I never had a sort of passion for becoming a teacher. And as someone who has been there, I can't really say that I envy those being teachers either. Um, at least for where I worked, it can be really stressful at times.
Mm.
And you really do got to be loving what you do to still be a teacher. I applaud everyone who's a teacher, and good on you for teaching people and making good in the world, because trust me, there are some doo-doo eggs out there, unfortunately. But yeah, I never really had that when I was growing up. I had the normal ones. I want to be a cop, I want to be whatever, paramedic
Mm.
or something like that. And when I actually came to the point in choosing my career path, so choosing what I would study going into gymnasium, I had no clue. Right around sixth grade or something, I started really losing passion for exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to work corporately. I knew that much. Like, I am a person who lives very well in a sort of office space. I don't do that well with openness and non strict rules. It's just how my personality works. I need something to be strict and I need it to be logical for me to enjoy myself.
Mm. So a lot of
Which,
sorry.
yeah, which corporations love and
Mm.
people working at corporations hates, but I love it. So there's that.
Oh yeah, but you must have also, well, at least I see, and I don't want to assume that you've also seen, but at least with kids, some kids, I guess those personalities as well have really benefit. Some kids has really a lot of benefit with structure, and like everything is in schedules and stuff like that. But there's also, of course, kids that really don't benefit from stuff like that. And I myself also love structure and rules and following everything to a T, and stuff like that. I like the structure of school, because school is very structured. I do like a little bit of freedom here and there, and I bet you also do that. But you know, we like to know what we're doing and how everything is gonna pan out, if that makes any sense, or how our day is gonna be, right?
Exactly. You want a structure through the course to make everything coherent, understandable, and digestible. But then within each assignment, you want as much breathing room as possible. It's sort of, that balance of trying to find openness and creativeness in the structure that is school. Because that's one of those things. School benefits so many people because of the structure that there is. And everyone has some sort of degree of it's this personality spectrum. Where are you? Some people are really high and they are classified as autistic people. Some people are higher and lower. I mean, I'm by no means up there in the range to be called what's the other word? Not when you're autistic, it's Asperger's.
Yeah.
There it is. I'm by no means either one, but I would say that I'm probably above average on the spectrum, but not near the level of actually getting a diagnosis. But that's probably also another reason to why I might like structure more than others in my life. But also, you can definitely see the benefit for those who do have the disabilities. And that's one thing that I found really exciting going through working as a teacher. The amount of people and personalities that you meet. You get to learn so much about other people.
Yes, really, and also about yourself in compared to other people. Like you're meeting so many different personalities and so many situations that gives you wonderful, wonderful feedback on how you interact with other people. Even though it's kids, it's still that interaction you have because you also deal with to a certain amount. You also deal with parents, and you of course your colleagues and stuff like that. And all those parents also have different personalities and different approaches and thinks that what you're doing is amazing, and then sometimes you think it's awful what you're doing, right? And they could do it better. And there's always these opinions about, especially I feel especially about professions that doesn't have a result
Career
basically.
path.
Well, no more like a result. Uh, the way I teach might be the best way. These kids are best to learn, but then maybe there's others. There's no find. I wouldn't call it. There's no list of exactly. When you have math, for example, 2 plus 2 is 4, right? And
Mm.
there's no formula that's gonna be the absolutely. It's more based on opinions and experience, how you proceed as a teacher, and the methods you are using, and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's what's so exciting because you do get put into so many different situations where you do have to learn and adapt to a variety of different topics and just situations. You might be meeting one person who's very, pardon me, very narrow minded and might be looking at the world being like, okay, it's math, but why do you need to do social studies? Why do you need to learn religion, history, so on and so forth? But the answer is truly you need everything because you might not be interested in history, religion, whatever it might be, but the questions and topics that are being brought up that puts your brain into a different mode than just learning physics, math, chemistry, whatever it is, where there are strict formulas and you follow the rule book. You don't do that in other places. And that's where your creativity can flow and you can actually start questioning and like, okay, well, I don't know much about many religions, but I'm just since I'm part of a Christian country, I know mostly about that. So that's why I'm going to take Christian's examples.
Hmm.
Please forgive me. I am not racist at all. It's just the only religion that I actually know to speak on behalf of.
Yeah, exactly.
So, for example, let's say, okay, people might say that Jesus walked on water. Okay, well, you might ask, not necessarily how, but where does this come from? How did he do it? Why is this written in the book? Why is this such a spectacular thing? And you start questioning things and you have to start rationalizing them for yourself. And people who are very narrow minded might not see that and they value math more. But then you have other people who usually are more on the creative side, and they might be, okay, but why am I going to need math? Why do I need to know that the square root of 4 is 2?
Mm.
Is the square root of 4 2? Yes, yes, it is.
Okay.
That
I
I'm just
wasn't gonna
like,
fact
hold
check
on.
you. I wasn't gonna fact check you. So yeah, sure.
I'm pretty sure it is because 2 times 2 is, and 2 to the power of 2 is 2 times 2. So yes, it is. Square root of 4 is 2. Um, and they might see, okay, why do I need to know this? If I need anything, I have my phone, I can just calculate it, or I can ask another person. I mean, I see the size on my canvas, I just need to know what the numbers are. I don't need to know what they mean. And to their credit, they aren't wrong. And neither are the people who think that math is the end all be all. Because we need physicists. And if we don't have artists, how am I going to listen to my amazing music? I'm
Hmm.
just saying.
So would you categorize yourself as? Is now you put like kind of two. I wouldn't say groups, but which one would you probably uh, go along with best? Like, would you be the ones that are very math focused or more creative people?
I'm definitely on the, at least in Sweden, we call it the scientific side.
Hmm.
That's the math, chemistry, strict rules. It's 1 plus 1 is 2. You know,
Hmm.
I'm definitely more so on that side,
Hmm.
for sure.
Oh, okay. So can I ask you a bit of a deeper question then now because you kind of touched on a subject about religion. I'm not gonna go. We're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're not gonna deep dive into religion because that's always a sensitive topic to us different. But are you a big believer in God, or are you just God is okay, or what is your stand on religion? Like, not yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's such a complicated topic
Yeah.
because it's what do you define? For example, me, I do believe in post-mortem activity.
Hmm.
So, for example, ghosts, and not necessarily ghosts, but some sort of spiritual being or something happening post-death.
Yeah.
I'm sort of part on that train, yes, but I do not believe that you go either to hell or heaven, and I don't either believe in a god.
No.
So anything that has to do with religions, I step away from. I
Hmm.
say that I don't believe in any of it. I find it really fascinating talking about it, but I don't engage myself in practicing any religions. But I still do believe in there's being something that happens post death,
Yeah. I'm
which
I'm in this I'm in the same I'm in the same boat in that sense where I feel like we have an energy to us, not to sound very hippy dippy and like crystals and all that stuff, but I feel like we do have an energy to us, and what people perceive as ghost are energy that persist through stuff that it attaches itself to. I feel like in a certain
exactly.
way.
Yeah, I'm totally agreeing with that because it has been scientifically proven that when you die without anything actually physically changing with the body, you become like 1 to 2 kilos lighter.
Hmm.
How? You can't just get lighter, you know? And that's one of those things. Something has to happen. And we all know that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only change shape.
Hmm.
Well, we know that the body gets cold, so where does the energy go? And we also know that we get lighter, so where does the energy go? The human heart creates so much energy, and you can prove that by how much food, liquids, and whatever else you have human bodies consume.
Yeah.
Where does it all go when we die?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's really fascinating.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm definitely on that side.
Yeah. And to the what you said about believing in God, I don't believe in God either, or there is a God. There might be one. I don't concern. I feel I don't concern myself with it, but I do think it's amazing that we do have religion for when people use it as a positive, to have something to believe in, and that makes them have a reason to live or to do things or something like that. But I don't
Yeah.
see it as being. There's also the opposite, of course, that people sometimes use religion as an excuse to do stupid things, basically. So
In a way, I view religion as just the early days of sort of politics. The early days of politics. Follow me, do like I say. And it's sort of proven itself throughout the years as well, where you have seen different countries being shaped by different religions and even laws being based on what has been written inside of a Bible. I know it's not called a Bible in different religions, but I hope that most people will understand what I mean when I say Bible. I don't mean the Christian Bible, I just mean your holy scripts.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, definitely there is. I just view a religion as early game,
yeah, true. It could be the early
early
game.
early life politics mostly.
Yeah,
Not to sound negative to anyone who believes in it. I give everyone full power to believing in it. It's just, everyone has different stances on it, but that's mine.
yeah, 100%. And I feel like people should take it as they want to have something to give them context in their lives and stuff like that. And all of us just has different ways of reaching out and grabbing that context and making this whole thing we call a life give some kind of meaning. And if that's through a book or a script or through gaming, through creative or for math, science, and stuff like that, it's just very important that you get that context in your life, and some stuff makes a lot more sense or more coherent.
Yeah, for sure. And if you were to throw a curveball at that, then let's talk about maybe more of a game side. What do you view as, or how would you treat religions in games? Because in a social norm, it's usually taboo to talk about, but do you think that it would be okay to criticize and explore religions in games?
Uh, I think it's. I wish. I would rather say that I wish that it would be something that would be open to being explored in video games as well. I think it's a very tough. Like it's like just us talking very lightly about religion. It also can be for some people a touchy subject, right, or a topic that we have to tread lightly, not stepping on anybody's toes and stuff like that. And I feel like the same has to go for that. But I wish that everything was fair game if it was preceded with respect and so forth.
Okay, that's pretty fair. That's a very good viewpoint, I guess.
Yeah, I want to be really neutral in this because I don't feel like it's necessary to like we sometimes divide people through being we actually this is I guess this kind of leads up to what you asked me last time about the gender stuff and whatnot, and you should definitely ask it. Maybe you can ask it just after this, but I'm talking about like we divide each other up into groups and to in like you are this religion or you have this belief and or you do have this gender or you have this politic statement or so on and so on. I don't know if it's something we have to do, but I feel like when we do that as well, not that I want us to live in one big happy family, but I just think that when we divide each other up into groups, we also start kind of, and I feel like that maybe that's just people's nature to kind of fight each other because we want everybody to have the same, but I don't know, maybe it's just in our nature to fight. I don't know, or belong to somebody and then fight somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually quite a interesting point of view. is it in our nature to fight?
Hmm.
Because as you say, we always find a reason to fight about something.
Hmm.
It's one of those weird things.
Yeah,
Humans are weird.
I'm really thinking about it now, and it just occurred to me that like we discuss things with people, right? We make discussions to try to convince them that our viewpoint is the best viewpoint, right? But do we
Hmm.
really want them to have the same viewpoint? What if like everybody was do you, like would the world be a happy place if everybody had the same opinion and the same, everybody had the same religion, everybody had the same color, everybody had the same gender, and so on? Would the world be a happy place, or would people be, discomfort in that everybody was everybody? Like would like a cell, like in a bad environment, we will start attacking the other cells because yes, everybody is harmonically together, we're all the same, but do we really want to be the same, everybody? Do we really want to be one people? Like, is it in our nature to actually want to be, or do we need to have different groups that we can actually fight? Do we divide ourselves up into groups to fight each other in a way? Not always, I'm not saying fighting with like guns and violence and stuff, but do we are we just sheep? Everybody, like, yes, people do say we're all sheep, but are we just a pack? Do you just want to be a part of a pack and then fight another pack, and you don't want them to be in the same pack as us because we do want to have somebody we can actually fight?
I don't think so. I think, well, we want to be in a pact,
Hmm.
but we still want to fight for uniqueness. Because I think with our level of cognition, the level of understanding that us humans have means that we also want confirmation on our thoughts from other people,
Hmm.
which can be seen a lot of times throughout history. And also, I think most people would be able to recognize that, yeah, no, I like to get confirmation from my friends or whatever you have. So I think that the world would be very boring if everyone was the same, because if everyone was the same, we still would want to fight to be unique because that's in our nature. I think we want to be unique in our nature. Everyone throughout nature wants to be the alpha in a way, but it's not necessarily being alpha, it's just being unique.
Hmm.
Maybe? I don't. I
Well,
think so.
yeah. Like in video games, like people, if I could draw that if I should draw that comparison, um, it's more when like in video games they people really want to have unique customization. People in video games don't want to look like generically like everyone else most of the time. If you have a game that's very, I wouldn't say complicated, because right there some game crossed my mind, and it was Minecraft, and then everybody kind of looks like the same, right? Unless you're using a skin. But in a like game like video like World of Warcraft, for example, you want to have all that uniqueness, you want as much customization as you can, and that goes for a lot of games that want that, and we want to be celebrated for that customization or that uniqueness looking. So that might be also transcending into, as you said, in real life, that we are fighting to be unique, but we also want to be some sort of affiliate with some kind of pack or flock, I guess you can call it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to uh, what's that? Conclude it, consolidate it. Words.
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest with words.
No. No,
Uh,
me.
but yeah, religion, right? It's
Yeah.
a sensitive topic for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It
So,
will always be very, very sensitive and stuff like that. So for sure, that. But if you should bring it back a little bit, we went a long ways on this about religion and stuff like
yeah,
that. But we should bring it back to you. So, do you still work as a teacher? Because now I'm a little fussy on that. Do you still work as a teacher, or have you moved on?
No, I don't work as a teacher anymore, but it's not because I disliked being a teacher per se. Yes, it is a lot of work. It's heavy work, and people might say, "Oh yeah, but you get the entire summer vacation." Yes, we do most of the time. Well, minus a couple of extra weeks that teachers have when the students go on summer vacation. But yes, we still get a longer than normal summer holidays than most people. But that's also because the teacher's average week is 50 hours and not 40 hours.
Hmm.
Teacher on average works more than your average Joe working in an office.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is a lot of hard work when you're actually working, and that is not why I stopped being a teacher. I stopped being a teacher because of my company's philosophy and also the boss that I particularly had. The company that I worked for is not the greatest, was not the greatest at least. I can't speak on behalf of them anymore because I don't actually read on what they're doing anymore. But they had a couple of bad headlines inside of the newspapers, quite tied together, things that they were doing, a little bit shady, or sometimes maybe shouldn't be viewed as a positive thing when working with kids, such as like they were um, giving out alcohol on, let's say, not after work, but on the gatherings where the corporation comes together and you have all of the meetings and they were serving alcohol or more particularly wine to the dinner. You might say, oh, that's not very bad, but then you also look, okay, where does school get its money from? It's mostly from the state. And then you're asking, should you spend that money on alcohol? Is alcohol really something you should do when working with kids? It's fussy, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's
So
gray area basically.
exactly. Corporation talk got me a little bit disinterested because it became hard, and then students start asking about it because our students are a bit older. They're what's that, ages 15 to 18 roughly.
Hmm.
So it becomes harder. They start asking more questions. And then the particular boss that I was working with, unfortunately, wasn't the greatest. Had a bit of slip ups and left quite a lot to be desired when it came to actually fulfilling their role as a boss, where you might expect a certain level of professionalism, which really didn't shine at all. So it
Hmm.
was mostly because of that that I ended or decided to quit. I worked as a teacher for 1.5 years, and I would say that I quite enjoyed my time. I enjoyed all my colleagues and everything like that. So definitely, yeah.
Hmm.
For
And
anyone who is considering being a teacher, give it a shot. It's actually not as dangerous as you might think it is. It's definitely very daunting the first day at work, the amount of things that you need to do. Just take it slow and break it down into bite sized pieces and tackle them one at a time, and it becomes a lot more manageable.
mm, very much so. And what I love about the teaching job, and I'm sorry that you had the experience of as a sort of boss in your area or your place. What I love about my job, again, if we're continuing to talk about if you want to become a teacher, at least at my place, I've experienced a few places while I was educating myself with being a teacher. But the place I've been now, I've been for 10 years. That was my first job as well. Well, that technically not my first job because I had jobs as I grow up, but this is my real first job, if you can say, like my grown up job. um, and I've been there for 10 years now at the school, and I love my work. And I actually had this talk with my friend the other day, and we were talking about having a job and all those stuff, and we were talking about having a job that you love. And I said I love my job, but I also love to, have time off, right? And I feel like if you love your job too much, it's also kind of a bad thing, you know. But I do love my job, and I love that every day is not going to be the same. Tomorrow, for example, when I go to work tomorrow, I I don't know how the day is going to be. Like, I don't know if the kids are going to be, you know, what's going to happen, if somebody's going to have. It's not that I want conflict, but it does happen. But I've also been at a school where there was no conflict because it was a private school, and the private school, like, they get to choose. At least in Denmark, they get to choose whoever wants to. I'm pretty sure that's how it is in everywhere else, but they get to choose who they want to. So like maybe there's 40 applicants, and they just take the 20 best that they want, and of course they are gonna have be very kind children, very nice to each other because they come from respectable and also resource strong parents and stuff like that. So with that said, not that it's just Ragnarok at our school, but you know, it is public school, and that's just so much better than private school for me, at least, because again, it's not that I want conflict, but it happens, and that just makes my purpose a little bit more, and makes my job a little bit more interesting than I was at the private school where like all the kids just managed everything else. There was no conflict. Every day was simply the same. So definitely my suggestion would be to people is to go into public school instead of going to private schools or private tutoring, basically.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And I guess another point to not scare anyone away from going to a private school, but you usually also have a lot more restrictions at a private school where you need to do certain things or perform certain tasks in a certain way that a public school might not do. I think a public school is a little bit more open and lenient
Mm.
compared to a private school.
Yeah, but
But
usually, sorry.
oh yeah, no. What I was just gonna say is, as you started saying, it's unfortunate that I had the experience that I had. Yes, my particular case is very unique and should not be any depiction of what working like a teacher is at all.
Mm. No, not at all. Uh, we have our ups and downs. We just started the school year, and we kind of have to figure out stuff as well as we start a new school year every time. Uh, but continuation of like the private school versus, I guess, public school, private schools usually tend to also have more resources, well, like more money. So there's usually more wiggle room in those sense. And if you ask for something like they want, if we go for the IT, you know, we want new computers that might be more able to compensate you or get you guys those computers than it is in the public system, because that is of course the public system, and they're gonna I feel like at least in the public one they have to I would say, and there's a word in Danish where it's like you have to turn every dime, you know, every penny has to be turned in a way.
Yep,
So
you have to be a lot more resourceful
mm,
in a
yeah,
public school.
and there's not just gonna be like 100,000 lying in the corner saying, "Ah, we don't know what to use with this," because then it's gonna just gonna go back into the system, of course. But yeah, it's you should. And I think I don't know if this is the same in Sweden, but of course teachers are not paid that well as either. So you really have to have the love of teaching and not the love of money. Not that you
Yeah,
don't get
no.
paid at all, but
Comparatively to other jobs that you might think are well paid, teaching is not one of those. And Sweden has actually invested quite a bit in trying to make working as a teacher more appealing by upping the rates that you do have as a teacher, mostly because we have a very high shortage of teachers in Sweden. Which is why I even became a teacher at all, because I mean, if you have a teacher's education, which I'd never had, then I would not legally be allowed to be hired if there was another applicant with appropriate education.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so you know how you need to have basically a teacher's license to be allowed to grade a student.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never had that. So I
Oh.
could give my evaluation of the teacher's performance in their work, but I was not allowed to set the pen on the paper and say, this is the grade that you got. I needed to consolidate that with another person who actually had the proper education and were allowed to set the grades and then discuss that and explain my evaluation. And they would need to approve my grading, and then I were allowed to present that.
Oh, okay, so like that. So I was in the impression that you actually had a teacher's education and you were hired after the teacher's education, but that was you were hired straight out of the gymnasium. That's what you said.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. That's why I was talking about the scenario, or this the it's called a scenario, or what's it called now? And I can't find the word. I forgot how it's even it's said in Danish. But teachers' school, basically, everybody goes to teacher school
Mhm.
if you want to become a teacher right after gymnasium. But they just pulled you straight out of gymnasium.
Yep. I
So
went from sitting at the desk to standing in front of the desk.
wow. So you don't. Do you have? I don't know. I feel like it's also not a toxic subject, but I feel like it also might come out weird. But do you have an education? I don't know. Is
Do you mean a higher than gymnasium
Yeah, yeah.
education?
Higher than have you
Um,
specifically, because gymnasium is very wide. In the kitchen. That's it's the same with probably, I guess, with if we're talking the American system. High school is also very wide in what
yeah.
people educate them. That you don't have any specific education. You just have high school, and then you go to become a plumber. That's more specific, or a teacher. Again, that's more specific, and so on.
Mhm. So yes and no. I do have the fourth year of gymnasium
Hmm.
level of education, which it's not the same level of having university education, but it's definitely higher than just being a basic student graduating the gymnasium.
Hmm.
So yes, but also I don't have a university, or as it's so weird because for us it's actually called high school, which is basically a not university, but it's the same level as university. So it's called high school. It's super weird. We have that, and I need to sneeze.
That's
I'm
okay.
not gonna sneezing. Okay, there we go. It's gone.
It's gone. Great.
Yeah,
That's cool.
perfect. So, um, I don't have any sort of that education, but I do have a proper. Uh, it's called an engineer's degree. When I graduated through the fourth year of from my gymnasium.
Hmm.
So yes, I do have a proper engineer's degree, and I am a software developer. It does says so on my papers. I am a engineer. I do have a proper title, which you cannot get through just doing something. You need to get proper education
Hmm.
to be allowed to have that title as your what's that, degree,
The
so to
degree.
say.
Yeah.
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 So yes and no, I guess, is the answer to the question.
Yeah. Okay. So can you build on that to somewhere, or are you taking that education? I don't. I guess I'm kind of asking, where are you in your work life now? I
Yeah.
guess.
Where I am right now is, well, right now I'm working as an IT support agent or technician, I guess you could call.
Hmm.
So I have definitely gotten use of my education. And I guess going forward, I still don't know, which is why I'm at where I am, because I don't know what I want to do, which is why I never went into university. I didn't want to spend 3 to 5 years studying when I didn't know what I actually wanted to do.
Hmm.
Going from where I am right now, I can still say that I love development and software development is my passion. It's just something about writing and reading code that gets me interested. It gets me intrigued every single time, which to a lot of people, you're like, why? You're reading a bunch of letters for no reason. You could have been an English teacher. Yes, but also I get to put something in practice and I get to see things happen on the screen. I can
Mm.
write a script to make your complete screen go black and it won't ever turn on if I so chose to.
Mm. So I feel like what you're saying is that like the it comes from like some of the stuff that people tell you like to do, for example, be an English teacher or being an IT teacher. I feel like those are what people told you kind of you should be at, and that because you kind of had that vibe, I guess.
Yep.
But just it came your interest came from you being interested and not it being something that was your calling, if that makes any sense. Your calling is more code and developing.
Yes. Which is actually funny. I started off earlier talking about how I didn't know what I wanted to study going into gymnasium, right?
Mm.
So what actually happened was, I don't know what it's called, but you have these like visiting days where the gymnasium is open for all of the lower grade students to actually see where they want to study and see the place and explore, meet the teachers and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
actually get a bit of a presentation of what each class is.
Yeah.
And we walked to this one school, and I had no idea what I wanted to become. None, nothing. I didn't have a single idea. But we went there, and we were walking around, strolling around, and then we heard, okay, they will have a presentation about this. I'm like, yeah, it's computers at least. I'm sort of interested in computers. Let's go there. And then I listened to the presentation, and I was decided. I'm going to go here, I'm going to study this, and I am not changing my mind.
Mm.
And still, oh God, how many years is that now? Like 8 years ago, and I still have not changed my mind.
Yeah, I can totally feel you on that one because after I was done with gymnasium as well, I had no idea what I wanted to do either. So, but I couldn't just sit, at home all day and do nothing. So I just went for something. I kind of had a feeling about being a teacher, but I wasn't gonna be, I wasn't from what we were talking about earlier as well. I wasn't like, hey, when I was 5 years old, I'm gonna be a teacher, and that's the only thing I want to do. But I jumped on the teacher education, and I just tried. I was just gonna be like, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna see what it is, and maybe give it a year. I'll see where it goes. And the first day I was there, I just knew I was in the right place. And I've never looked or been interested in doing any other kind of job. I do see people that have, and I feel like, oh, that's kind of cool job you have, but I wouldn't trade it for what my profession is. And it's just weird because I had no idea until the first day of teacher school that I was gonna be a teacher for perhaps the rest of my life. I don't know, but at least I've been it for now 13, 14 years.
Yeah, it's funny how you just find this one thing that you didn't even think about before. You see it, you notice it, you get a little bit of a taste for it, just a pinch of season, and boom, you're hooked. You're
Hmm.
like, I'm addicted. I'm gonna do that. But please, kids, don't smoke that. It ain't healthy, okay? Sorry, I just had to throw that joke in there.
That's okay. I laughed at least. Hopefully, a few people, all the other people did it so as well. Uh, my but my advice is always like when people ask me like I don't know what to do with my life, I don't know what education I should do. I'm just saying, well, if you have some kind of small itty bitty feeling of something, try it. Just go out and try it. You can always choose something else, but 99% of the time that people try, their hunch or maybe something, they just find the right thing that they want to do. And
Yep.
it's better to try something than just, say, oh, well, that's not me. You never know what you're gonna hit up on.
Exactly. How many times have you not, in hindsight, regretted what you did not do?
Hmm.
You can't regret what you have done.
Hmm.
You can only say, oh, this was not for me. I learned from this. But you can regret what you did not do.
Yeah,
If there's something that you haven't done, you haven't tried it, it will probably come back to bite you in the butt.
definitely,
It
definitely,
will.
it will. 100%, it will probably bite you in the butt, and it has done so for me. I don't know of you personally, but I have a few things over my now 35 years, getting on to the 36 years of my life. Of course, I have stuff that I regret, and I've learned from them, and hopefully somebody else there will also have regrets, but we learn from them, as you say. And I think it's very important that we do take those chances, because it's going to be maybe the best chance you ever has taken.
Yeah, I can say it's as well that I have regrets,
Mm.
but I have never regretted anything that I have done. A
No.
decision that I have done to do something I have never regretted.
Yeah.
But what I have regretted is not acting on my hunch or acting on my feelings. Sometimes it's just that one thing you're like, oh, I really want to do this one thing, but you're too scared to ask your parents. And then 5 years down the line, you see your friend, you meet a new friend, and they did it and they loved it. And then you're like, why didn't I do it? It could be go and try out that new water slide at the water park.
Mm.
It could be try out that new roller coaster. I love roller coasters,
Me too. I do
but
as
I
well.
was too scared to try them in the beginning.
Mm. Oh, I've never been. I
And
was headfirst.
afterwards, I've regretted every single second that I haven't actually gone on one because I've missed out. The
Mm.
adrenaline, the energy, the speed, and the G-force that you feel is so amazing rushing through your body. It's not for everyone, but it's definitely for some people, and you cannot regret what you have done. All
Mm.
that you can say is, okay, it didn't go as planned. Oh well, I learned.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
guess if you took heroin or weed or whatever narcotics, yeah, you can regret it because you're probably stuck. Kids, don't do illegal substances.
No.
There is a reason why they are illegal.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
It's to save you from yourself. Same with alcohol, which is actually funny because I got to taste alcohol when I was quite young, but it was a very, very, very small. It was just dipping my tongue in red wine.
Mm.
I can say, for God, I'm sure, tasting red wine when you were like 9 tastes awful. You ain't never gonna like alcohol after that. And even to this day, I still don't like alcohol. The only things that I do like are, let's say, a cider, mulled wine. I don't know if you have that in Denmark, mulled
No, we have,
wine.
yeah.
Yeah. That's just, the 2% alcohol. Just give it that little teeny tiny bit of alcohol. Just gives it a little bit of a different flavor. Not as sweet. Perfect. Anything else? Nah, I'm good. Any other alcohol? I'm good.
Yeah. Well, alcohol is it again. That's just people's taste, right? So some people enjoy it, and some people definitely do not enjoy it, and yeah. But I think actually Fox, or I know because I just looked at the time that we're actually about an hour again,
Yep.
and we didn't really talk about the things we talked about last time, which was uh, just because we had such another wonderful conversation. Maybe we'll just do. Maybe I'll just tell you that we're doing an episode, and we'll just get to talk, and it's just me trying. Just because I want to talk to you. But what do you say to that? We put this episode out first, and then I'll put the other episode out as well, because I think that it's. I don't want to lose the other episode because it was so good as well.
Yeah.
We didn't really get to recreate this one, but if people listen to this one first, I'll make an intro to the other one and say, hey, don't listen to this first, go listen to the other one first, and then we'll put out 2 episodes. Not at the same time, there'll be 2 weeks between them, but it will be 2 episodes for you. But this one be first, and then the other one, people kind of know you, and then, yeah, they should do it like that. How do you feel about we doing that?
I think that's great, and I'm happy that we did not recreate what we did last time.
Okay, that I'm happy you're saying that because I kind of tried. If you could probably hear a few times, I tried to steer the conversation into that as well, but we just had a lot of great conversation because I didn't want to have people miss out on it. But now that time has gone by and we didn't really naturally go into these stuff we talked about last time, I feel like it's just much better if we do two episodes. One episode where people get to know you, and then the other one about these other great topics that we got to talk about.
Sounds very well.
Awesome. Great. Well, guys, I don't know if you guys are going to listen to it back to back, but we're going to end the episode here. So if you haven't heard, if you hear this in the future and the other episode is already out, I hope just go listen to that one. You probably will because that's kind of a cliffhanger, I guess it is, to another episode. So thank you, Fox, for coming on the second time. And thank you for letting us know a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you very much for having me.
Again.
Yeah, thank
Or
you.
I guess not again, because if people listen to this the first time, then it'd be again next time.
And that's the cliffhanger.
That's the
Then they need to
cliffhanger.
know,
They
oh,
need
this
to
is
know.
the, again, ooh, spice.